The UK general election results are finally in, and it's terrible news for the Conservatives, who have now suffered one of the biggest losses in their history, after being in power for 14 years, since Gordon Brown in 2010. The clear winner is the Labour Party. But before we look at the results in more detail, let's first have a quick look at how the UK elections actually work. The UK uses a first-past-the-post system in general elections. Each of the 650 constituencies elects one member of Parliament to the House of Commons. As an example, let's look at the Suffolk Coastal constituency. 5 parties received a significant number of votes, with Labour obtaining a plurality of 31.7%. Under the first-past-the-post system, Labour won the seat in the House of Commons because they secured the most votes among the competing parties. The party with the majority of seats typically forms the government, and to achieve an outright majority, a party needs to secure at least 326 seats. The leader of the party that wins the majority of seats in the House of Commons becomes the Prime Minister. If no party wins an outright majority, a hung parliament occurs, and parties may seek to form coalitions or agreements to establish a government. The incumbent Prime Minister remains in office until a new government is then formed. And let's not forget about the King. King Charles III has a role too, though it's mostly ceremonial. After the general election, the King invites the leader of the majority party to form a government and become the Prime Minister. So what do the results actually look like? Let's first look at the percentages and then the seats. In 6th place is the centre-left Scottish National Party, led by John Swinney, with 2.4% of the vote. They stand for Scottish independence, the protection of public services like the NHS, and a fair progressive tax system. The SNP is very pro-European Union and advocates for increased cooperation across Europe to enhance Scotland's economic and social well-being. They aim to reverse the damage of Brexit, re-enter the single market, restore free movement of EU citizens, and ultimately rejoin the EU. In 5th place are the left-wing Greens, led by Carla Denyer and Adrian Ramsey, with 6.8% of the vote. They stand for environmental issues, social justice, and sustainability. The Greens are pro-European Union and want more cooperation across Europe to tackle climate change and promote sustainable development. Their manifesto lacks detail, but interestingly, the one time the manifesto mentions the EU, they write, and I quote, "Rejoin the EU as soon as it is right." In 4th place there is the centre-to-centre-left Liberal Democrats, led by Ed Davey, with 12.2% of the vote. They want to improve public services, fight climate change, and reform the UK's electoral system. The Liberal Democrats are pro-European Union. They have consistently campaigned for closer ties with the EU and have previously advocated for a second referendum to reverse Brexit. The Lib Dem manifesto wants closer cooperation with the EU in many areas like climate change, defence, and farming. They also want to join the single market, which is an essential step on the road to EU membership, which remains their long-term objective. Since the UK election results were announced, depending on where you get your information, you could have a very different spin on what people are thinking about these results. This is where Ground News, today's video sponsor, really shines. Ground News is a news app and website that gathers related articles globally, showing political leanings, reliability, and ownership of data for each source. When looking at the story, we can easily see that it has been covered by around 80 different sources, and is covered by more left-leaning sources than right-leaning sources. My favorite feature, though, is seeing different news articles, such as Euractiv, known for its left-leaning stance, reporting the story quite positively for Labour, focusing on their win. In contrast, the right-leaning headlines from The Sun focus on Reform UK and their monumental breakthrough rather than Labour, which is a different spin on the same story. What I really like about Ground News is how it promotes balanced news, which is so important in today's polarized world. My channel also tries to address this issue, and Ground News really helps in this mission to address bias in the media. Subscribe to Ground News now at ground.news/EUMS, or use my link in the description or scan this QR code to save 40% on the Vantage plan for unlimited access to all features that I use. In 3rd place is the right-wing populist Reform UK party, led by Nigel Farage. Yes, he is back, with 14.3% of the vote. Reform UK advocates for smaller government, lower taxes, and significant political reform. They also made the fight against immigration a central part of their campaign. Reform UK is strongly anti-EU. Originally called the Brexit Party, they called for a hard Brexit, meaning a bare minimum relationship with the EU. They advocate for complete sovereign control over immigration, trade, and regulatory matters. They oppose any form of rejoining the EU or its economic structures, like the customs union or single market. They also want to leave the European Convention on Human Rights. In second place are the centre-right to right-wing Conservatives, led by Rishi Sunak, with 23.7% of the vote. The Conservative Party emphasizes free market policies, reducing government intervention, and maintaining strong national security. When it comes to the EU, the Conservatives led the UK through the Brexit process and supported a sovereign UK, independent of the EU. Their manifesto provides little detail on the desired relationship with the EU, but one thing is clear: they strongly oppose rejoining the EU or any of its economic structures. The party strongly emphasizes UK sovereignty and regulatory independence, frequently mentioning the removal of legacy EU regulations. The Conservatives are also committed to negotiating trade deals independently. Now, in first place is the centre-left Labour Party, led by Keir Starmer, with 33.9% of the vote. Let's not mince our words, the Labour Party won by a landslide. The Labour Party wants to focus on improving healthcare, education, and welfare, with policies aimed at reducing inequality and supporting the working class. Labour advocates for a closer relationship with the EU, stating that they want to reset the relationship and seek to deepen ties with our European friends, neighbours, and allies. Labour aims to improve the UK's trade and investment relationship with the EU by removing unnecessary trade barriers. They seek to prevent unnecessary border checks, reduce food costs, and secure a mutual recognition agreement for professional qualifications to benefit UK service exporters. Additionally, they advocate for a new UK-EU security pact to enhance global cooperation. But while Labour wants to improve relations, their manifesto clearly states that there will be no return to the single market, the customs union, or freedom of movement. And when it comes to rejoining the EU, Keir Starmer made it very clear a couple of days ago, where he said the UK will not rejoin the EU or the EU single market in his lifetime. So how many seats did each of the parties actually win? At the time of recording, Labour got 412 seats, Conservatives 120, Reform UK 4, Liberal Democrats 71, the Greens 4, and the SNP 9. This seems a bit odd, doesn't it? Labour won a massive majority of seats, 63% of the total seats available in fact, but won only 34% of the total vote. Even more peculiar is that Reform UK received more votes than the Liberal Democrats, but only got 4 seats, compared to the Lib Dems' 71 seats. This is due to the UK's first-past-the-post system, where the winner of the constituency takes all, even if the second, third, and fourth placed parties receive tens of thousands of votes. For example, if Reform UK were to come second in every single constituency, they would be the second largest party in the UK, but would receive 0 seats. This is different in a proportional representation system like the Netherlands, and I'm sure this will be discussed in great detail in the coming weeks, as to whether the first-past-the-post system is fair and reflective of the populace. Nonetheless, Labour's victory is the biggest victory a single party has achieved since 1997. With 412 seats, this is way over the 326 needed to form a majority. If we compare the results to the previous election in 2019, you can see that the biggest winners are Labour and the Lib Dems, and the biggest losers are the Conservatives and the SNP. So what does all of this mean? Firstly, Keir Starmer will become the new Prime Minister, and with such a significant majority, he can push through a lot of his plans in his manifesto. This result is also good news for the EU, as Starmer advocates for closer cooperation with Europe. However, the UK will not join the customs union, single market, or the EU anytime soon. As you can see in this overview, the vast majority of seats went to parties that want more EU cooperation, but no EU membership. If you want more detail on whether the UK will rejoin the EU in the future, we have a video for you here. Or if you want to see the recent French elections explained, check out this video here. Let us know your thoughts about the results in the comments. And thank you so much for watching, and please subscribe, like the video, and sign up to our Patreon if you want to support the channel further. See you in the next one.